Hey, I'm Brandi Fullwood, and this is Seattle Eats. It's a podcast about the Seattle food scene and the best things to eat in it. All right, so let's set the scene. There are a lot of new restaurants in the Seattle area. There are menus with Sichuanese small plates, there's delicious dive bar Philly cheesesteaks, and honestly, a lot of ice cream on the east side. But there are 3 new openings that help us understand a little bit more about what's going on in the Seattle food scene. And many of these restaurants are pushing ahead with ambitious, delicious ideas. Seattle Met food writer Naomi Tomky is here, and she and I are going to plug into the pop-ups going permanent, the tasting menu serving up hard-to-find seafood, and a steakhouse that's serving steak.
Meat over fire wrapped in tortillas? That is life.
We'll let you know about the places you must try. Let's get into it. Hey, Naomi, thanks for coming in and sharing the goods.
Thanks for having me. Excited to talk about what we got going on.
Okay, there are a lot of restaurant openings in the Seattle area. There's obviously more to eat than whatever you can put into a Mariner's Ferry boat, but there are also a handful of closing announcements, so let's start with that. Beast and Cleaver is a butcher shop in Ballard, and they announced that they were pausing Le Bistro, service starting May 1st. Le Bistro was like a 3-night-a-week dining experience with steak and charcuterie, wine, all kinds of things. What's going on there?
They do a lot in that one restaurant, and I think they maybe just needed to pare it back. I will say I'm very sad because one of the best things I've eaten in, the last bunch of years is their London Royale. It is a super rare, thinly cut steak that is just so tender and so flavorful. I mean, I think they bathe it in butter is the real answer. And it's just like each one is just sort of a bite-sized heavenly piece of meat. I've never seen this dish anywhere else. I think it's kind of their thing.
The owner, Kevin Smith, shared a bunch of reasons that they need to take a break. He said pause, not really closing, so caveat there. What does a pause really mean in the restaurant world? Is that just not like a soft goodbye?
I mean, you never know. Sometimes it's a soft goodbye. Sometimes it's a gentle way of peacing out. And I think sometimes it truly is a pause, sometimes seasonal, sometimes while they figure out what they're doing. It is brutal out there right now. Food costs are absolutely skyrocketing. Rent is out of control. And labor is a huge issue.
Yeah, there are loads of reasons. Restaurants operating on low margins make it harder or more difficult to pay staff, and the $21 minimum wage, even with tips, isn't attractive with the high cost of living in Seattle, so it's tough. So Beast and Cleaver is on the north side of Ballard, but they also opened Little Beast in 2025 on the south end. There's a lot more hustle and bustle there, obviously, but Little Beast is newish, and it seems to be doing really well, so it's hard for me to understand why meat-forward meals might work on one side of the neighborhood but not the other.
I mean, these things are super complicated. I would say that one of the things is that Little Beast's one of their 2 core things that they do is serve restaurant meals. And Beast and Cleaver does a lot of things, and their core is that they're a butcher shop, and Le Bistro was sort of an extra add-on. I also think people really underestimate how confusing the whole concept is, and I think that makes it so that when people are thinking about where to go out and get a meal, they're not necessarily thinking about Le Bistro because they think of it as a butcher shop. And it's a tough puzzle and it's a tough thing to pinpoint, but I do think generally when people are even just like the tiniest bit confused about what is going on, it just like they discount. People like clarity.
Yeah, make things easier. Well, it sounds like they're shifting focus to expand hours at Little Beast, even adding an English breakfast service sometime in May, which I'm excited about. So maybe not steak, but definitely beans, and that's economical. Well, let's talk about some openings. These places are in the world of critics, brand new. So this is not a set of reviews, but places you ought to pay attention to. Gordo Steakhouse has finally opened in Pioneer Square. you spoke it into existence. Is that right?
I did. I've been waiting for this to open. I've been really excited about it. It looks amazing. It's from the Asadero Prime family, and they do a great job making cool restaurants that work. And I think we're like a year out from when they had signs up and said opening soon.
What else is exciting about their business, their brand, their food that have you waiting with bated breath for it?
Meat over fire wrapped in tortillas. That is life. No, I'm like I said, that group of restaurants does a really great job. They make really fun, interesting places, and they make good food. So his other ones are Mexican steakhouses. This one they're calling a carne asada house. Who knows what the difference is? Carne asada is a kind of steak. It looks exciting, and that space has been empty forever. It was Bar Sayor, and I'm not positive it's been anything since, or maybe it was briefly something else.
It's been a minute.
But it's been empty for a long time, and Pioneer Square deserves restaurants in those empty spaces.
Yeah. After Bar Sayor, it was Copal up until like 2020, and now Gordo Steak has taken over. So there's obviously steak on the menu and other things like queso fundido, but what else has you excited?
So they have some cuts of steak that you don't necessarily see on American steakhouses menus very often. They have picanha, which is a Brazilian cut, and arrachera, which is a Mexican skirt steak. They have tasajo, which is like a Mexican salted and dried thin sliced beef.
Mm-hmm. That's like the Oaxacan flank cut,
which you don't see much around here. So it's cool to see beef, but not necessarily just sort of the same. I mean, they have like a New York and a ribeye, but like they're also going out a little bit further. And you can order them as steaks or as tacos, which is wonderful. I noticed on their dessert menu, have jericayas, which are like the specialty of Guadalajara or maybe Jalisco, the state that's in, that are like these little flans with sort of a creme brulee top that I loved. And again, not something you see all the time here. So it's exciting to see someone doing new stuff. Even if a steakhouse is like that traditional concept, love to see some more interesting stuff on a menu. These are not going to be your cheapo street tacos. You're going to be paying steakhouse prices. Your entrees are going to match closer to a steakhouse.
Yeah.
You're not getting a $6 taco.
Yeah. Let's do a big pivot from meat maxing to farm to table. Cafe Lolo is a pasta pop-up turned farm-to-table restaurant on Capitol Hill. The trio there built a large following as a pop-up, and you can see loyal fans already lining up. It's an all-day cafe. Love. This location has also been a lot of different restaurants, and the food might change, but the inside largely goes untouched. Do you know the history behind that?
Well, that building is a fascinating story.
Yeah.
My colleague, Allison Williams, wrote a love letter to the murals that are on the wall in what is now Cafe Lolo, because it was a Russian tea house, and there's these wonderful murals illustrating a Russian folktale poem. I have been really thrilled that in the last few years, every restaurant that has moved in has really embraced them. And Cafe Lolo has said that they're going to keep them, which is wonderful. And I think probably generated a lot of goodwill in the neighborhood.
Yeah, the murals are really fitting for that area. The leftover cobblestone and village provincial feel of all the buildings.
Yeah, there's a very like random corner in rural France feel to that building.
Does Cafe Lolo seem like it will be a neighborhood spot though, or a destination place?
That space is very much a neighborhood space. It's kind of a weird little corner that I feel like struggles to be a destination restaurant. But I do think because they spend so much time at farmers markets all over the city that they will have a lot of audience that they're pulling in. And I do think that it helps people know their brand and their product. They are doing something quite special. Farm to table has become sort of this trope a bit.
Yeah. What does that mean to you?
I think it became so big that you had like corporate appropriation of it. Everything was farm to table, and like, okay, yeah, everything comes from a farm at some point, but was it a like 1,000,000-acre lettuce farm in Yuma? Or the original meaning of it was that there was like a direct connection from the farm to the restaurant table, and that really got blown up over the last, I would say, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, when you say the chicken is from a local farm, but it's from a local Costco.
Yeah.
People get upset. I do love the way they boost the farmers that they work with. It's a long list on the back of the menu. And so they are trying to cite their sources. And I kind of want more of that.
I love when people are citing their farmers. I think that's great. I care more about the quality of the food that they're getting. It's great if they can cite where it comes from, even if they are buying it through a distributor. We have lots of really good distributors that are going to those farms and then bringing it to the restaurant, and they're not necessarily going to be getting their cabbage from the same person every time. And I would rather they care about getting great cabbage than that they necessarily know the farmers. I think that they're both great ways to do it, as long as they're not buying their chicken at Costco.
Okay, I don't think there's any chicken on the menu at Cafe Lolo, at least not right now. It's very veggie forward, with dishes like savory porridge served with pickles, or focaccia sandwiches with, right now, like nettle aioli. And I know that some people might see farm to table and think, oh, this is just vegetables, but it's actually something else.
Really what they specialize in are ancient grains. And so Cafe Lolo, it's farm to table because they're getting these ancient grains locally, but you also are seeing like emmer and millet, all of these grains that we don't normally see where everyone else is using wheat.
I did go to Cafe Lolo, and I know it's early days, but I'll say I was really excited by their little larder and the quick turn bites. I think there was like a smoked salmon with like a caper remoulade with buckwheat chips. It did feel like the 6 items for Seder?
The Seder plate, yeah.
Yeah, the Seder plate. It felt like that, but like with a twist.
A little girl dinner lunch.
Yeah, exactly. I know you haven't been, but I guess I wonder like what you look for in a new place that hasn't been open for a while. What are the things you look out for?
I want to see that they are true to what you're ordering on a menu, that, you know, whatever it is that drew me in there is actually happening on the plate. I really like when people are doing something original, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're not cooking a burger and the burger's been invented a million times, but are they doing it particularly well or in some particular way that is amazing? Overall, a restaurant is more than just how the food tastes. I want to go into a restaurant and feel hospitality.
Yeah.
And that can be in the form of counter service. It can be in the form of table service. It's about like when you go in there and you eat food, you feel like you're being cared for.
Yeah.
And like there is someone there that is making food that will make you happy and make your life better.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I know part of the reason that you haven't been is that you wait 2 months before going to a place. What does that 2 months give you?
It is hard to run a restaurant, especially in this modern world where you could be descended on by viral crowds and just totally blown away. And last week you had 10 customers and this week you have 100. That really kind of can throw off service and make it really difficult to operate. You have to train cooks and you have to train staff, and it feels really unfair to judge people as they're adapting. I write for a quarterly. Like, it's not like people are coming to us to find out what happened 20 minutes ago. And so I like to give a restaurant some time to get used to being a restaurant. And relax into itself. And, you know, restaurants will open and be really ambitious and have a huge menu and then find out that everyone's ordering the same 5 items and and maybe they pare down and really like push hard on making those 5 items really great. And I love that. And a great restaurant will adapt to meet customers and meet expectations and figure out where that fits with what they are trying to do and what they do best.
Speaking of giving restaurants time, the next opening is Kakurenbo, which is in the ID, and it has been a long time coming for this restaurant to open. What's the lore behind that?
So we joked that Gordo Steak we waited a long time for. Kakurenbo, I looked up the article that my predecessor, Alicia Vermillion, wrote, and she wrote in 2022 about how they were going to get started to open. This is the family that operated there for many, many, many years as Sukinshimbo. And they had announced that they were going to do Kakurenbo, which was also sushi and omakase style high-end tasting menu type thing, and also Onibaba, a casual onigiri place. And Onibaba was supposed to open after. And you know what? It is a old building in Japantown, and I suspect that they ran into some issues trying to get that ready to be a new place. And I had sort of started to wonder if Kakurenbo was going to happen at all. And then all of a sudden there it was. Yeah. And I have not been yet because it just opened, but everything I've heard and seen looks fantastic. And I'm waiting my turn.
So Kakurenbo will have omakase where you leave it up to the chef to decide what you eat. So there's not really a choice in that, but what they have presented so far seems really exciting. Sea grapes, which is like an edible algae. The tempura shiso, which I kind of love when people flex that they can delicately fry things. And then firefly squid, which is just hard to come by in any sushi setting.
I feel like firefly squid is one of those items that's like a real tell for me that this is a place that knows what they're doing, because you're not commercially going out and buying huge wads of firefly squid. Yeah. It's super seasonal. It's local. It is not going to fly off restaurant menus. People who know what they're doing might like come in and be like, ooh, firefly squid, and order it. Most people probably don't even really know what it is, but when it's in season and when it shows up on a menu, it's definitely a sign that someone there is like, I want to help show people the way, where to find something super interesting and delicious and local and seasonal.
And if you've never had firefly squid, it's implied in the name. It's a squid. And it's implied in the name. It has like bioluminescence when it's in the water. Rare sighting. But it's a tiny, briny, sweet, deep sea creature, like a squid, but it's just really small and really delicious. And like Naomi said, a great tell that you know how to bring in loyal omakase havers.
Yeah, and like we are in the season right now, and it's not a super long season, so if you see one,
a rare gift to the loyal people who have returned to them. In a lot of ways, Kakurenbo is a reimagined location. What do you think it'll mean to like reactivate a restaurant on this street? Because it used to be a former restaurant of theirs.
I love the whole Japantown Nihonmachi area, and in the last, 10 years, it's really seen restaurants and shops there embrace that identity that I think for a long time had sort of started to fade into the background, even as places like the Panama Tea House and Maneki and Fuji Sushi have been there throughout. I think that area and the audience had not necessarily made it sort of a public-facing thing that we say, yes, this was the Nihonmachi, the historic Japantown. And I really love that we are getting back to that and seeing that embraced as part of the identity. And I think having Kakurenbo open in there just reinforces that.
Yeah. This is just a small sample of what has opened in Seattle so far. But when I look at some of these openings, again, there's beef, there's farm to table, and then there's omakase. And these are 3 things that I've heard lots of people, either business owners or business writers who say that those things aren't working in Seattle because of the high cost of beef, because of how costly it is to do farm to table, and also because no one wants to spend the money on tasting menus as much as they used to. But these are some big hits or big swings in these openings.
I don't think anything works in Seattle right now. I think our restaurant industry is a little bit broken.
Yeah.
And so you might as well do what you want to do and what you find interesting. I don't want to be Debbie Downer on this, but
Hey.
I think that nothing is working particularly well. So you could go through and say all the things that aren't working, but you couldn't exactly go through and say what is working. Other than I went to a new restaurant in Wallingford called Spicy Hunan Kitchen that was amazing and packed with a line out the door, and apparently has not had an open space in months. So, other than that, Spicy Hunan Kitchen is working. Nothing else.
Nothing else is working. I mean, you might as well try whatever to get people in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that right now the traditional ideas of what works and doesn't work in a restaurant have all been upended because it's just really tough out there right now.
Yeah.
And if you like something, you should go eat there and support them because everyone is having a tough time. And I mean, I'm kind of glad people aren't listening to any conventional wisdom because we get more interesting restaurants that way.
Naomi Tomky is a writer for the Seattle Met, and you can check out a whole bunch of her restaurant industry updates. That's linked in the description of the episode. Thank you for joining, Naomi.
Thanks for having me, Brandi.
That is it for today. Seattle Eats is hosted by me, Brandi Fullwood, and you can get in touch with me at seattleeats@kuow.org. But I also like learning about the food scene from you. What's your go-to spot in Seattle for lunch or a first date or a special occasion or where you're willing to stand in line? We have a voicemail box set up for you to call us at 206-543-8510. If you call that number and leave a voicemail, it'll help us make a future episode. The show is produced by me and edited by Jim Gates. Seattle Eats is a proud member of the NPR network. You can find more and support the show at kuow.org/eats. And all of this information is in the description of the show. If you like the show, though, you should give us a rating. Okay, talk soon.